What if I told you there's a little boy who fell from the stars and changed the way we see the world forever? Once upon a time, there was a little boy, not just any boy, but a very curious and unusual little prince. He came from a tiny planet, no bigger than a house, planet B612. On his little world, there grew a single rose, his rose. She was precious to him, though sometimes a little proud. One day, the little prince decided it was time to leave his home and explore. He wanted to see other worlds, to meet new people, and maybe to understand life a little better. So he packed his things, said goodbye to his rose, and began a journey among the stars. He visited many strange little planets, each with only one person living on it. A king who only gave orders. A vain man who wanted nothing but praise. A businessman who counted stars all day, as if numbers could capture the magic of the night. At last, the little prince came to Earth. There, in the middle of a desert, he met a man, a pilot whose plane had crashed in the sand. And that's where their friendship began. Their conversations were simple, but full of meaning, about friendship, love, loneliness, and the way children see the world with clearer eyes than most grown-ups ever can. When I was 6 years old, I saw a picture of a big snake that had swallowed an animal. Snakes swallow their food whole and then sleep for 6 months to digest it. I made my own drawing with colored pencils, a snake that had swallowed an elephant. But my drawing looked like a hat, and the grown-ups said, "That's just a hat." So I drew another picture showing the inside of the snake. Even then, the grown-ups still didn't understand. They told me to stop drawing and focus on geography and math. I decided not to be an artist and became a pilot instead. In my travels, I met many grown-ups, but saw they don't see the world like children do. To test them, I showed them my drawing, but they always said, "It's a hat." The narrator, a pilot, recounts that 6 years earlier, an accident forced him to make an emergency landing in the middle of the Sahara Desert. He was completely alone and had to repair his plane by himself. On the first morning in the desert, he heard a strange voice asking, "Please draw me a sheep." Shocked, since the nearest inhabited place was thousands of kilometers away, he saw a little stranger standing seriously before him. The narrator explains that since childhood, he could only draw a boa constrictor, closed or open, because adults had discouraged him from drawing. The narrator asks the little prince, "What are you doing here?" Instead of answering that question, the little prince insists on getting a drawing of a sheep. The narrator tries several sheep drawings, but the little prince rejects them. One looks sick, one is old, and one has horns, so it's a goat. Finally, the narrator draws a box, saying the sheep is inside. The little prince becomes happy and accepts it immediately, saying it's exactly what he wanted. The narrator gradually learns that the little prince came from a tiny planet smaller than a house. His planet was the one discovered by a Turkish astronomer, but his discovery was ignored because he wore traditional clothes. Years later, when he presented it in European dress, it was accepted. The narrator laments that people care more about appearances than facts. He notes that if you understand how small the little prince's home is, you can truly appreciate him, and asks readers to remember the little prince whenever they look at the stars. The little prince tells the pilot that on his planet, some seeds grow into flowers, but some turn into nasty trees called baobabs. If the baobabs aren't pulled out early, their roots can destroy the whole tiny planet. So, he has to clean his planet every day by pulling up the bad seeds. The point? Small problems can turn into big disasters if you ignore them. On his tiny planet, sunsets are easy to catch, Just pull your chair back a bit, and you get another one. One time he saw 43 sunsets in a single day. He says sunsets are comforting when you're feeling down. Here, he has a little argument with the pilot. The little prince is worried about his beloved flower back home. He's afraid a sheep will eat it. He explains that the flower has thorns to protect itself, but the pilot says thorns are useless. This hurts the little prince's feelings and makes him cry. He says the flower is proud and sensitive, but he still loves her and feels responsible for her. The pilot realizes the flower matters far more to the little prince than repairing the plane. The little prince says that one day a strange bud appeared on his planet. It took many days to bloom, acting all mysterious and taking its sweet time. When it finally opened, it realized how beautiful it was and got a bit proud, sometimes sweet, sometimes cold. This puzzled and upset the little prince so much that he thought, maybe I should leave for a while. The little prince was ready to travel, so he went to say goodbye to the flower. This time the flower was gentle and kind, saying, "I'm happy I met you. It was my fault for acting up." She told him not to bother with the glass cover and that she wanted to be free. Her words touched his heart, but he still left. The little prince arrived at the first planet on his journey and found a lonely king there. The king believed the whole world was under his rule and wanted to make the little prince his minister. His orders were always things he knew would happen anyway, like the sun will set at 7 o'clock. The little prince saw there was no point in staying and said he had to leave. The king pretended he was giving permission just to keep up appearances.